So last night I went to see The Last Jedi, and prior to seeing The Last Jedi, I saw a lot of negative reviews for it coming from people like Geekdom 101 and Dash Star. Which this movie right here, it was like so bad to him that he like quit making Star Wars videos. Like he's no longer, I guess, a part of the Star Wars community. Well, not a part of the community. He will always have left his mark in the community, but he's gonna just move on to different things. That's how much he didn't like this movie, and then I saw it. It's a good movie. Is it great? No. But is it as polarizing or as bad as everyone really wants to claim it is? To me, not in the slightest. It's almost kind of where I stand with Revival, if I'm being honest. Like, Revival has a couple of, well, kind of like where I stand with Revival, because to me anyway, the songs that are bad to everyone else are just okay to me, so it's not as bad as everyone wants to claim it is, but it's not great. That's how I feel about The Last Jedi. It's, uh, it's, it's not great, but it's not horrible. It's the one in between. So, yeah, first I'm gonna get into what I didn't like about this movie. um, I felt like we kind of went unseen. Like, I felt like there was something missing in the movie, and that's Snoke's background. Do I need a detailed explanation about what it is? No. But it would have been nice to know, how he took over the military and how he became so strong and in tune with the Force like he did. Because if I'm being really honest, Snoke was probably the most disappointing part of this movie period. Because in The Force Awakens, they built him up as this big bad. He was someone who was not to be reckoned with. And then in this movie, he kind of felt overconfident. But then he was also a coward of Luke. So I don't know, I kind of felt like he got punked in this movie, and he wasn't nowhere as cool as he could have been. There's still some things they could have did with him besides sitting in a chair, and I like that. I like that Kylo killed him, and at the same time, I don't like that Kylo killed him. He could have been more fleshed out if Kylo didn't kill him. You know what? I'm gonna put spoiler. I'm gonna put spoiler in the title. Because I've spoiled the movie immensely at this point. So spoiler will be in the title. It'll be in the title, so you won't have an excuse to complain. But anyway, yeah, when Snoke died, I was immensely, very split on that idea of Snoke dying because, like I said, for Kylo, it was a really cool Kylo moment. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. I feel like it probably would have fit better in the last movie so it can actually resemble Return of the Jedi. And also to me, this movie feels like Empire Strikes Back mixed with Return of the Jedi in some elements, but not better than in any of those films that I just named. I'll probably tell you where I rank it in a second. I might make a full-fledged video on where I rank Star Wars. Maybe like in 2020. I'll do that once we have like a lot more Star Wars movies under our belt. So yeah, or I'll probably just leave it down in the description below. Who knows? But on to what I was talking about. Yeah, that's one thing that I didn't like. And my main problem, I actually want to say for the end, because it's probably the most important thing in the entire movie. In the entire movie. So So other problems with the movie, who Ray's parents are. I didn't really come out satisfied with that answer either. Well, I kind of did. How she was a nobody who came from nowhere, aka Jakku, and nowhere, nobody parents who just sold her off. I kind of like that, but I don't know. It just doesn't really explain why she's so strong and in tune with the Force. It doesn't really. I never really get why that's the case. And Leia, quote unquote, dying. See, I like that she came back to life because I love Leia, but something about it felt, I don't know, cheesy the way she came back. And I know people have been waiting to see her use the Force for so long. I'm a young Star Wars fan, so I wasn't around for. I like, as far as childhood memories go, I barely remember the prequels. Now, getting older, I remember the prequels because I've watched them so many times, and I don't care what anyone says. I love some of those movies. The one, the Attack of the Clones, not a big fan of that one. But back to my point. What was my point? um, I'm so yeah. It just doesn't really explain why she's so force sensitive or whatever. So other problems. Yeah, Leia. I'm sorry, Leia. That's what I was talking about. Yeah, kind of. I mean, I guess it's cool that she came back to life, but man, I felt. See, what Disney was trying to do is pretty much what Kylo Ren's trying to do. They're trying to bring in the whole new wave of Star Wars characters, and to some degree, I can kind of agree with what Geekdom said. And he's saying that it feels like Disney is trying to cut off the old, come in with the new, and I like that. But I just don't really get the condescending feel that he gets. I mean, whenever we watch movies, I'm pretty sure me and him watch movies completely different. We go in there, just there are different ways to analyze a movie, but going back and thinking on it now, I do feel like Disney is trying to slowly cut off the original characters. So the thing with Luke Skywalker, I'll save all that for last because it's the biggest thing in this movie. So things I did like, clearly I loved all of the new characters besides Snoke. He was probably the most disappointing part of this movie. People didn't like Rose. My only problem with Rose is that she didn't let Finn just go, and I mean that would have been such a cool sacrifice. And you know how Star Wars is. They could have had him end up surviving it or something, or I don't know. It just would have been so cool or something. Like, I don't know what they could have possibly did, but like maybe if Luke had shown up a little earlier, like he could push the laser back with the Force, kind of like how Kylo Ren did. Oh, that would have been so cool. But yeah, I find myself not liking the second. I like the first part of the movie. The first part of the movie is really good. That's some real, like, the first section of the movie is really good, and I don't know, like, getting on into it is where I find more of my problems lying. But I'm supposed to be talking about what I like and what I don't like. But yeah, Rose as a character, she was cool overall. The only problem I had is that she just slammed into Finn all of a sudden. I was like, what? Why? I just didn't like that she did that. I feel like it would have been really cool character moment if Finn had actually win, and that would have been so dope. Because I really like Finn. Don't get me wrong. I want to see my boy Finn prosper in life. But it was so built up well, and then she comes in like cram and ruins that whole scene. But I didn't really mind her, and people said they didn't like most of the stuff that was happening with Finn and Rose throughout that city and stuff. And honestly, I really liked it because, to be honest, that section of the movie was a little bit more lighthearted. It wasn't like completely lighthearted, but it was a little bit more lighthearted. It felt like the entire movie you were being choked. You know what I'm saying? Whenever it came to what was happening with the Empire and the First Order, I mean, no, the First Order and the rebellion. It felt like they were in a really, really, really tight position. Rey trying to get Luke to come over and help. Um, yeah, it felt like it felt really dark, and that part right there, their parts were kind of a breath of fresh air. That's what I'm trying to say. A breath of fresh air, give you some time to think, and yeah, I didn't really mind. I didn't think it went on too long at all, if I'm being honest. Maybe they could have cut some time out from them, because some of that time could have been used to spend, yeah, explaining some stuff about Snoke, but I digress. So, other things I like about it, clearly Yoda coming back with that grand entrance, and then he like striking lightning down. It made no sense, but I freaking loved it. For like the 5 minutes that Yoda got, it was perfect, 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 perfect. Um, but yeah, really enjoyable stuff there. I enjoyed a lot of the new characters, like I say, Poe, Kylo. Let's see, if I were to like rank all of the newer characters, I'd put BB-8 at the bottom. I love him, but BB-8 at the bottom. And this is just like main, really important characters. Rey, as of this movie, Finn, Kylo Ren, and Poe Dameron at the top. Because to get to that, Poe Dameron was a really dope character throughout this movie. I liked how he was reckless. I liked how he just took control of his destiny and didn't let the I forgot what her name was, the old lady with the pink hair. You guys know what I'm talking about. And I did like her character arc in the movie too. I like how she sacrificed herself. But yeah, I liked what Poe Dameron did. I kind of talked about Kylo Ren already. I most definitely enjoyed what he did. But Snoke dying, I mean, I like it and I don't like it at the same time, because that would have been a really cool thing for episode 9. But I mean, I guess him being the main villain of the next movie, which I guess he kind of was of this movie, but I guess him being that villain for episode 9 probably would be better. But, you know, Snoke would have been cool too, just saying. So let's see, what else do I want to touch on when it comes to this movie? Yeah, Finn, really enjoyed him. I don't feel like he stuck out to me as much as he did in the last film, but you know, he was good. So let's see, what else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Okay, I think I kind of touched on everything. Now to the biggest problem that most people have with the movie, and that's the way they did Luke. I feel like what they did was cool, but they didn't make it work. You know what I'm saying? I felt like what Luke would have done. I feel like what Luke would have done, and even get into the Kylo Ren stuff. Yeah, I don't feel like Luke. I mean, he saw the good in his father, and he couldn't even see the good in his own nephew. I mean, Luke isn't really one to prejudge people. even in Battlefront 2, he like helped out some soldier or something. So it goes to show that Luke has always been kind-hearted, but until he got old and grumpy, and I don't know, maybe it's because he didn't want to lose everything that he had worked for. That's what I thought. Maybe he didn't really want to lose the you know, the Jedi temple that he had built, but I don't know, him attempting to kill Kylo Ren was just, and all because of a dream that his sister had. I mean, yo, that's just not really Luke-ish for me. And the fact that he doesn't want to go back and right his wrongs, pretty much what he's helped create. Um, the fact that he didn't do that also kind of feels out of character for Luke. I feel what Luke would have done if this was real Luke was go out there and help. But I can also understand because he's just grown old and tired. But I think him knowing what is going on at the current moment in time, I feel like him knowing about the First Order, I feel like him knowing about Kylo Ren, his sister's in trouble. Luke back then, I mean, you gotta remember, in The Empire Strikes Back, he was just dying to go help Han Solo and Leia and all the Chewbacca, C-3PO, R2-D2. He was just dying to go help them. And then R2-D2 was like, I mean, not R2, but I'm so stupid. Yoda was like, nah, bro, you shouldn't go. You should finish your training. But he was just dying to go help out his friends. And you're telling me now his own sister doesn't even mean enough to him to, put his old pride behind him and go out there and help. That doesn't seem like the Luke kind of thing to do. I'm sorry, it really doesn't. So yeah, that's kind of where my major problem lays. And one more I want to touch on is Geekdom's most definitely right. They are trying to focus on the newer characters, which is something that I don't hate. But I feel like, C-3PO barely in this movie, R2 barely in this movie, and they were one of the first tastes you got of the Star Wars universe. Chewbacca barely in this movie. Leia, a big part of this movie, but kind of after her death, she doesn't play a huge role, which I think's a good thing. Well, after her coming back. But yeah, man, I think what they should have did is I think they should have let her die in this movie. See, here's what I would have did if I was directing this movie. This would have been the Pierre the Pierre Hager's cut. So um So I would have kept the first part the same. Things I would have started to change is whenever Princess Leia died, and I would have let her stay dead. Then cut to Rey. Um, Also with her training and stuff, I would have had Luke train her, give her a couple of short lessons, and then there you go. That probably would have cut so much time out the movie, and so much more probably could have happened. I'm not gonna lie, so much more probably could have happened. I mean, if like that. Now, here's actually where my problem lays. People said that the um whole Finn and Rose thing took up too much time from the movie. I personally think Rey trying to hammer down in Luke's head that he needs to come help. I think that went on too long. I think Luke should have been, Luke-ish enough to say, you know, I gotta help people. I mean, people saw me as a legend, legend back then, and now what am I? I'm just some old hermit on an island. And I'm okay with that being the way it starts out first, but I think at least they could have cut off so much of this Luke and Rey stuff that there could have been more happening in the movie. So yeah, Then I probably would have had Luke go join the rebellion, and I probably would have kept the stuff that happened with Rey and Finn the same. You know, like whenever Snow died. Oh, yo, that was so cool. Rey and Kylo Ren's fight was so dope. The way they were just taking on those guards, that was so violent. It was probably the most violent lightsaber fight we've had since, like, movie-wise, Revenge of the Sith. That movie came out a while ago. But, yeah, it was just so violent and cool. And, like, yo, Adam Driver is perfect as Kylo Ren. Like, oh my god. Adam Driver's Kylo Ren, perfect. Like, he just channels the right amount of aggression. But, you know, and then probably whenever Luke was down there, it could have kind of been like a reunion with, and him actually physically being there. Oh my god, that's another problem I have. Like, like my dad was trying to make up excuses to why he made a Force ghost, but if you guys paid attention, there was an X-wing in the lake. You mean to tell me Luke couldn't have used the Force to pick the X-wing up, fly to the planet, and actually physically be there? Because they denied me in this movie of a proper lightsaber duel, which is another problem I have. I'm gonna just rant. But yeah, they denied me of a lightsaber duel, and I just Luke was underwhelming in this movie. He's another huge disappointment that I had with this movie. Now that I'm really going back and thinking about it, that was another huge disappointment. But yeah, man. Most of the movie I probably would have kept the same, except for shortening up the Rey and Luke stuff. Luke going with Rey, being there in the actual battle. You know, whenever they were stuck on that planet. You know, Princess Leia dying, I would have most definitely had that change happen. Um, I know people have been waiting so long for her to use the Force, but I mean, if you're not Force sensitive, then you're just not Force sensitive. Like, I guess she just doesn't have those metachlorians. But anyway, yeah, I would have kept most of the stuff that happened in the battle the same. Honestly, Rose saving Finn is a go or a stay at this point. But like, if Luke was physically there, bro, you could have, like, have y'all ever played The Force Unleashed? If you have, then like, you remember the time, like, whenever I forgot who it was. I think it was Starkiller. I don't remember. Like, it was bringing down the whole Star Destroyer. Someone was bringing down the whole Star Destroyer. It's been so long since I played that game. But yeah, someone was bringing down the whole Star Destroyer with the Force. Luke could have easily did that to those AT-ATs. He could have easily did that. That would have been so cool. That would have been so dope if Luke was actually there. And, you know, him dying in this movie, I feel isn't really... I mean, yeah, I guess if you really want to push the boundaries. If you really wanted to push the boundaries, then, I mean, Princess Leia should have died. Because, I mean, Carrie Fisher's dead in real life anyway. And I honestly would have actually rather see her die than, like, there be a time skip, I guess. And then, you know, her just actually being in the, like, I'm not gonna say that I didn't like it in Rogue One that they brought that Admiral's actor back. I can't think of it through hologram. I'm not gonna say I didn't like it, but whenever it comes to Carrie Fisher, I'd most definitely just rather see her off in a movie than just a hologram playing her. You know what I'm saying? I mean, maybe she'll die in between movies, but I feel like that if you really wanted to push the standard right there, that would have been it. But I feel like Luke should have survived just a eensy teensy weensy little bit longer. I don't think he should have died. I most definitely would have kept him alive until the next movie. Then maybe he dies. Yo, that's about it. There was good in this movie, and there was bad in this movie. That's just how it is with any movie. So that's just reality right there. So anyway, I hope you all did enjoy this video. If you did, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you don't want to, that's completely fine. But if I were to rate this movie, I'd probably give it. It's not a bad movie. Don't get me wrong, it really isn't. But as a Star Wars fan, there are problems that I have with it. So I'd probably give it a 6 out of 10 rating. That's my rating for it, a 6 out of 10, because it lacks. It lacks some stuff. I'm not gonna lie, it really does. But yeah, I'll see you guys later.